Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of a Melanated Hypothesis podcast with your girl, Tori V, aka Victoria Littlejohn. And it's Friday, y'all. So you know what that means. We have another dope guest with a dope perspective. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for joining us today. Introduce yourself to the collective.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Hello, everyone. I am Q the Coach, aka Q Maxwell, and I am here. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy. Ooh, this is gonna be so good. Okay. So let's jump right in. Okay, so tell us, what do you do? Who is Q?
Um, Q is a mother, entrepreneur. I am the owner of um FHQ Design and Consulting, where I do business coaching and consulting, graphics. I also am life coach. I'm a life coach, and I have um so many clients. I do so many things. It's so many things of Q. But other than that, I am a business owner. Like I said, a mom of two. Um that's me in a whole nutshell.
Okay, so get right into it. Okay, so you say you do consulting and life coaching.
Yes.
So what are you consulting as far as like
Um
what
so
what would I come to you for?
so like if you are a business owner, I do a lot of consulting with business owners, especially making sure you're structured right. We talk about marketing and make an actual marketing plan. We make a business plan. I pretty set you up for success. I make sure that you have all your legal structures in order. I make sure that you have a precise plan. I make sure that if you are already a business owner and you just need to revamp, we want to revamp you and get you scaling to make a certain amount of money. I want to see small businesses be big businesses. That's what I do. On the life coaching side of it, I help you to elevate your life in a manner to where you're healing emotionally, mentally, and physically, and financially, because all of those things together helps to support you as a business owner, mom, wife, sister, whatever your role is. It all helps support it all. So that's what I do. I help you to get that plan together to hit your goals and start running. I'm a coach.
Yes, I love that. So do you help mostly women?
I do help mostly women. A lot of men don't feel like it's necessary to see me, but I do have a couple of male clients who are like, trying to get themselves in order to face the fact that they do need healing in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, we here. We are all about healing. This is the Healing Network.
Yes.
So I had to have you. I had to have a conversation. I know you see my smoke. That's my candle. Got to get my aroma going on.
There's nothing wrong with that. I love me some candles and incense, girl.
Yes, yes. I tell people all the time. I like the incense to help me breathe, and they're like, and I'm like, when you smell cookies, do you
Right.
breathe that in? That's
Right.
it's a coping mechanism to help me breathe when I'm anxious.
Yes.
So it's
I
just
love it.
little tips that I'm trying to put people on game to.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. So I'm excited to just dig into your story. So how did you start with coaching? Just getting in there and wanting to help other entrepreneurs. Like, first of all, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was as a child.
Right.
Like, I didn't know that. I knew I was selling candy and getting money, but I didn't know that that was entrepreneurship. I was
Right.
burning DVDs and stuff. So how did you get into that?
Right. Well, so let's see. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer or a nurse. I actually completed my goal of being a nurse. I am an LPN. Um,
Mm.
and I've been in healthcare for 16 years. Lord, I'm telling my age. But I was in healthcare for 16 years. And I lost my dad at the age of 13. Just tragically all of a sudden. And then turn around 16 years later, I lost my husband, my kid's father. Um, and I knew that I needed to, now I'm a single parent. So I knew I needed to do something that would allow me to still be able to be flexible enough for my kids and bring in the same money. Um, but also help me to help those who are in similar situations as I was in, or, who are starting out in that situation. So I started off just wanting to be a life coach. I just wanted to help people feel like they're supported. I know I went through a lot of things and not feeling supported, especially when I lost my father. I felt all alone. And then when I lost my husband, I felt even more alone. So it was like you can be in a room crowded with people, but still not feel like you're seen or heard. And that was me. I was just drowning. So I wanted to do something to offer support to other people who have been through similar situations. And that's how I started out 4 years ago. Um, it just trickled over into business. I have no idea how, but I just think one friend came to me to get help with her business, and she started telling people I do business consulting pretty much. So I started, I mean, I took classes in college for business and things, and I even went to school for business, but I never really wanted to work in business. So, but I'm here.
Yes. Well, we're glad to have you. Okay, so what do you think is the most important thing when becoming an emerging entrepreneur? Like the most important thing to get started with first?
The most important thing with becoming an entrepreneur is planning. You can't plan for everything, but you can make a structured plan enough to know what direction you want to go in. That's the first thing. The second thing, um, I would say is the most important is make sure you know who you're doing it for. Make sure you have a problem that needs to be solved and make sure that your business is solving that problem. Because if you're doing what you think everybody else is going to do, sometimes it doesn't always work in that aspect. You have to make sure that you can have a problem and solve it. That's the main thing. Um, and don't worry about family and friends being your supporters because those are not the people you want to sell to. You want to sell to the people who actually need you.
Okay, so what tips would you give? Because I have an issue with this. What tips would you give someone trying to um, find out their avatar, their audience?
Okay, so the things I would do is I do a lot of polls on my page. Like I just ask random questions, and it could be based off of something that's going on in the media, like what's trending that day. And if it ties into your business, I would ask questions concerning it just to get people perspective and outlooks on it. Um, I would also do like email marketing. Have people say that you have a questionnaire you want people to fill out and let them drop their emails and then send them the emails. That's the way you find who needs you and who don't. It tells you what age range and it tells you what demographics those people are in. So that way you would know, okay, I know that my people may not be here where I am, but they're over there. So I know I need to go over there and do that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are really the main three ways I actually find my target audience.
That's awesome. I I know I have an idea of who I'm talking to,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, it's just like if you need healing, just come on over to Death Row Records. Like
I take everybody. I take everybody.
exactly, that's how I feel. But I'm just like, okay, everybody's not feeling,
Right.
everybody's not
Everybody's not
feeling
ready
that.
to be healed, and everyone's not your assignment. So you just have to make
Yeah.
sure you're wanting to go with those people who are actually your assignment, and they will definitely come to you. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, if y'all are here, we appreciate you. Make sure you follow us. We're going to
Yes.
have the links in the comments,
Yes.
the handles in the comments, so you can follow us. Follow Q. She's dope. And their podcast. We got to get into this podcast, honey. How did the podcast start, first of all? What's the name of it?
It's Qnomics.
Qnomics.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So how did that start? Like what happened?
So I am always the one who, so like I said, when people see me, they see a business professional. So they always want me to be professional. And I'm really jokey and quirky, and I like to do just be free sometimes. Sometimes my language is not the best, as you can see in my podcast, but um I get to be that true geeky girl that I am. I don't have to speak proper. No one's looking for, um, to correct me for grammar and different things of that nature. So I just came about that last year, during the election time. I lied. It was 2020 during the election time. I got like people together and started getting together and just talking about the election, and I had this one guy on that was able to keep us informed, and it just went from there. So then I started doing meditations on there. I started talking about healing. I told like everything. So I started being free on there. So it was like, this is my go-to when I am stressed. I can go in here and just vent about anything, make people laugh, just talk about real life.
Yes, and I love it. I love how real you are. And I just feel like we need more places to be real and be ourselves.
Yes.
Because I struggle. I know for me, like I call it Sophista Ratchet, which I got from somebody on the radio in my hometown.
Yeah.
Um, and I call it Sophista Ratchet because yes, that's me. When she said that, like I have the business side where I can, hey, I can be very elegant, right? And
Yes.
then I'm chilling, bruh.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Like a lot of the times people don't realize, and I'm from down south, so a lot of us sound. The first thing they assume is we're Jamaican. If I actually just forget my grammar for the day, and you'll hear that I am a real Geechee down to the bone.
You keep
Um,
saying Geechee. Okay, are you from South Carolina?
I am.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah,
cause I
so
know all about Gullah
I
Geechee.
like to just sometimes just be relaxed, and soon as they be like, "Oh my God, are you from the islands?" and I'm like, "Girl, wait, island? No, no, no. I'm right from South Carolina, from Chucktown, as we call it. But yeah, it's just I
Oh
just
my
love to be myself.
goodness.
I love to just you know let people know that I'm business savvy, but I'm also a little sophisticated.
Yes. Okay, so explain to people who don't know what Geechee is. Gullah Geechee people and the
So
culture.
our Gullah Geechee people are the people who it goes dates back all the way to slavery time. When our people were brought here, it is down here in the South. It's just basically a form of Ebonics, but they call us Geechee. We sound like we're from the islands, but it's a lot of history with it. It's where our soul food was created. It's how our people, our ancestors, were able to connect with our other people. It just was a language between us. And it's spread throughout the South, but you mostly hear it like in South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina borders, in between there. And everybody have their own dialect. It's just a dialect. It's our language that we use. And when you hear us say stuff like, um, girl, what you going there for? Or, it's like, what you do that for? That's how we talk. It's just we know what we're saying to each other, but everybody else is like, what does that mean? But or you hear bunky or stuff like that. It's just it's just a language that we use to communicate with each other and to keep us connected to our ancestors pretty much.
Yes, I love that. I started what I call the Black America Tour in
Mhm.
2019.
Mhm.
And one of the places I went to was South Carolina, and I had to get up in these marsh because it's like on the coastline. That's where you
Yeah.
find Gullah people,
Yes.
people. And so I went down there in the weave baskets, and they was talking. I needed a translator. I didn't know what they was talking about, but like so I first I went down there and I had went to just the pier in
Mhm.
Charleston
Mhm.
Pier. And so that is where 80% of all African Americans, Black Americans, their ancestors came in through that pier.
Yep.
So I like the history behind that. But then it was just like, okay, my sister was telling me about Gullah people. I never heard that. I'm from DC. I don't know what you're talking about. So I had to go see. Like I had to go see. And
Yes.
I went down there and I learned about how they're getting Gully the dialect put into schools. And so
Yes.
now they're teaching it in schools. And I'm just like,
Yes.
that is so cool. And that's the only place in America where it still exists.
Yes.
So I'm like, wow, like that is some rich history.
It is very rich, and I'm definitely proud of some. I know growing up, I used to be like, "Oh my God, I can't wait till I'm old. I'm ready to leave Charleston." But then, like as I get older, I realize how beautiful Charleston really is. The history behind it. I fell in love with it all over again. Honestly, as I got older, so
Mm-hmm.
it just was like we don't have nothing to do here. We're so far behind. But then when you look at us like, well, we're really ahead. Like we're keeping our ancestors alive by, just doing what they taught us and the healing methods that they've used, the language that they've used, the cooking methods. Our food here is amazing. I mean, I know they say Louisiana got the best food, but our food here is amazing. So, and you will find more people that look more like us, the thicker girls, here in the South. So yeah, I love it here.
Oh my gosh. Now I gotta come back. And I'm going on the road. I'm at the end of February, I'm leaving Virginia and I'm
Okay.
headed on the road. And I can't wait to get back down there. So we definitely got to connect.
We definitely do.
Oh my goodness, 'cause it's so much fun down there. Now I went to oh my goodness, what is that beach called?
Folly
It's
Beach,
in
Isle of Palms.
Folly.
Yes.
Yes, but that's in North. It's in North Charleston. So I
So
didn't.
it's part of James Island, Charleston area. But you will find that most of the residents on James Island are African American people. And a lot of our Geechee Gullah people we find on James Island, downtown Charleston, some in Mount Pleasant, a good bit in Mount Pleasant, West Ashley, all in those areas. That's where you'll find a good bit of them at.
Okay, yeah. See, I need to come down there with somebody that know the area because me and my sister went. We went to Folly Beach, and then we went to this like it wasn't soul, but it was food, right?
Right.
And
It fed something.
right, but we was like, where the season at? Just
Yeah,
y'all got some
yeah.
okay, just
Listen, when you guys come back, I got you. I got you.
that is so funny. Okay, so you said something earlier. Let me think. The healing methods that you all use,
Yes.
because you're not it's a different culture down there. It's not
Yeah.
Americanized, and I
Right.
love that because I don't know what America is doing. They're conditioning us and they're killing us on the low. It's
Yeah.
on the high, really, but we ain't
Right.
gonna talk about it.
Right.
But that culture, because it's still of African culture, it's like all the different countries of Africa swiveled into one culture in
Yes.
America.
Yes.
So, what are the different healing tactics that you're taught that you've used um, that we don't know nothing about in America?
Let's see. For our old people call it down here. We could say pneumonia, but they call it pleurisy down here. So when you get pleurisy in the chest, of course you know the Vicks vapor rub, but there's also what we call mullein, which is a herbal remedy. And you can make it into a paste, rub it on your chest, or you can make it into a tea and consume it. That helps versus getting some type of cough medicine. We have Life Everlasting down here. It's illegal, but if you can find someone who can find it, you use that. You make that into a tea, make it into a hot toddy as they call it, with
Mm.
honey, rock and rye, and lemon, and you drink that. Sweat it out all night, and you're good to go. We do
Why
the
is it illegal?
because it has healing properties in it, and
It's
people actually can put it in, smoke it if they want to. They used to back in the day to help clear their respiratory, and they made it illegal. So if you get caught with it, you can be fined for it down here.
interesting. What is it like a leaf?
Yes, it's like so. It's more like I don't know if you've ever seen um what's it? I wouldn't say the dandelions when they're budding. Have you ever seen those like right before they bloom and the little buds the dandelions have? It looks like that in what's it called? Weeds. It looks like weeds. Like the
Mhm.
dead weeds off of plants and stuff.
Oh,
That's what it
okay.
looks like, and it's grounded up into a tea. Um, it's really beneficial and it really works. I think taking that versus taking anything else, which take you maybe 3 to 7 days to get well. You drink that, and you're 24 hours. You're back on the scene. Like, yeah, I'm here. And no, I did not just have the flu. But yeah, it's really beneficial. Onions and potatoes in your socks. If you have a cold, it takes all the toxins out your body. Um, there's so many things we use down here that a lot of people just be like, "What? That's weird."
No, that is awesome. Okay, so I want to talk about. So when we're talking about healing, I know for me, I have. I say I have. I don't want to. I like to separate myself from whatever it is, but
Mhm.
I identify with or am living with or whatever you want to say,
Mhm.
CPTSD, childhood PTSD.
Mhm.
So I want to know what are some things that you're healing from that kind of took you on this journey. I know you told me about your dad and your husband. Um, is that the bulk of where your healing starts?
No, the bulk of where my healing starts was molestation as a child. Um, and still, in our black households, that's what goes on in this house stays in this house type
Mm-hmm.
thing. And still having to kind of deal with the people or be around the people who have actually hurt you in a manner because it's like, oh, that didn't happen, or like everyone forgets who they are. We always want to hide the molesters, but we want to call out our homosexual loved ones. And I love my LGBTQ community. I feel like they're just such a special people. Like, I love them because they're not really judgmental. Not all of them anyway. They're not really judgmental and they care for you, but we want to keep our rapists in the family a secret. I hated that. So from child molestation, dealing with abandonment issues. Don't get me wrong, my parents were very involved in my life. Of course, my dad died when, like I said, when I was 13. But um, it was just like I didn't feel the connection between me and my mom mainly. Um, because she worked all the time. She worked
Right.
all the time. And as an adult now I get it, but back then as a child you don't really understand. My dad was in the military and we was able to, like, when he came home, we was able to spend like the year before he passed away, cuz and suddenly we was able to spend that time with him because he was working and in the home and stuff like that. So from 5 years old up until losing my dad at 13, losing my husband at 28, and I've been in an abusive relationship before. All of those things combined is what brought me to this journey.
Oh my goodness. So I really want to just, I gotta unpack that. I'm sorry. We
Yeah.
gotta go into that.
Sure.
Okay. So first, do you feel like now where you are, you have healed from those things, or you've been able to accept and move forward through those things?
I have learned to accept them and move forward. I had to do a lot of forgiving of people, not for
Mhm.
them, but for myself. I had to do a lot of inner child healing and kind of connect with my child and my childhood and speak to her on a level from an adult to a child and kind of love on her a little extra. Um, in order to get here, I still battle. It's not, I always tell people healing is not linear. Like, you just don't get over it one day. It one day you're fine, the next day you will think back to it and you might tear up a little bit, or you will think back to it and might get angry. I still have those moments, so I'm still working through them. But I'm way better than I was. Me and my mom's relationship is a whole lot better than it was. um it's just it's work. It's a lot of work, and you have to be willing to put the work in if you want to see some type of progress.
Yes, yes, and that's what I'm focused on, showing people how to do the work,
Yes.
because these stories are not uncommon, unfortunately,
No.
but we don't talk about them. Like you said, what happens in this house stays in this house, and kids are supposed to be seen, not heard. So if
Exactly.
I'm dealing with something, I can't even tell anybody.
Yes.
Oh man, that was so good. So when you talk about, um, I know one of the things that I struggle with too is just not having the nurturer mother.
Right.
And now I had the provider mother. She was out here getting it. Like, we were good. We didn't go without. She made $1 out of 15 cents. I didn't see her, so
Yes, ma'am.
she's amazing. But
Yes.
as far as like her being a mother and then coming home, being a mother that goes to work, she comes home, she's overwhelmed. She want to go in her room. When she go in her room, we don't see her till the next day. But what about me? Like, I've been home all day. I cooked dinner. I cleaned. I took care of the kid. And now I need my mother, or to
Right.
talk, or to process, or something. And I never got that unless I was in trouble. And
Right.
so for me, it was like, okay, like, that's when you get talked to. When you get in trouble, that's when you get attention. When you get in trouble. And I wasn't trying to get in trouble, because when I got in trouble, I got beat too. So I wasn't
Right.
trying
Exactly.
I wasn't trying to get in trouble. But that was the only time that I actually got that talking to. So what okay, so for me, I had to okay, well, let me ask my question first. So what do you think, like, if knowing that situation and kind of understanding that situation as an adult, how did you move to now having a better relationship with your mother?
So my mom was 18 when she had me. So she had, it was, in the black household back in the day, we all used to live under one roof.
Mm.
Grandparents, siblings, grandkids, everybody all in the same house. That's how we were. Um, but she had to provide for me. So she was trying to, she finished school, she finished high school, and she was working at the same time. Um, so a lot of times of her being missing, that's how the molestation came about and things of that nature. And growing up, I realized that she handled me the best way she knew how from what she was taught. And when you have a generational curse of, if something happens in this house, it stays in this house type thing, we kind of sweep it under the rug. Your parents do the same thing. And I try to explain a lot, especially to teenagers nowadays, when it comes to your parents, they're dealing with things as well. You may not understand what they're dealing with, but they're dealing with things as well, because their childhood wasn't all that great either. They had issues in their childhood too, and it's kind of a repeated cycle. So once I got to that point and realized that, of course, having my kids of my own, I have a 14 and 11-year-old, having kids of my own, it made it easier to understand, like, okay, I get it. Because I was the workaholic mom. My kids will tell you, my kids would get dropped off to school by me, but they would not see me until the next morning for me to drop them off to school, because I worked 2 and 3 jobs. I went to college at the same time. Like, I was trying to make sure that I can take care of them on my own without any help. And when my youngest started acting out, that's when I realized you're repeating that same cycle that you judged your mama for.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to sit back and be like, okay, what can I do to fix this? So now when people look at me, they feel like, oh, your kids are respectful, but disrespectful in a sense. No, it's because I allow them to have feelings. They can talk to me about whatever. And I have that relationship with them. I spend that time with them. And while I'm spending that time with them, I'm nurturing my inner childhood at the same time.
Yes. Okay, I love that. Okay, I love that because um I almost feel the same way. And okay, so all right, so I'm getting a lot of thoughts here. All right, let me see. One, I know that, we hear this word narcissist come up a lot. And when we talk about mental health, we hear narcissists, but we're all on the narcissistic spectrum. And
Yes.
so the way that I see it, because I study it, and the way that I see it, mental health spectrum, the diagnosis is a spectrum. And
Mm-hmm.
so you move up from narcissist, you move up from like childhood trauma to personal, to dissociative identity disorder, to
Mm-hmm.
borderline personality, to narcissist, to sociopath. So you move up based on your trauma and how you've
Right.
handled it or not. And so when people are in that narcissistic state where a lot of us are, I feel like um, this is my hypothesis at this point, but I feel like when we don't get what we need, like we can start on that path of like moving up the narcissistic trail, meaning we're focused in on ourselves. We're not focused on anyone else, but because of trauma, we feel like I got to keep me safe. Like, this is for me. I need the water first because it's for me. Like,
Right.
and so we seem like, the asshole or something like that. But it's just that we are traumatized. And so now we are focused hyper on ourselves. I
Yes.
feel like awareness brings that down, but um, you also need at least one person to nurture you in that
Yes.
moment to help you come down with off those levels.
Yes.
Um, so how do you feel like you kind of catching that brought well, okay, so let me see. My thought was when we're on this narcissistic scale,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of if we don't catch it, we can, go higher. We can become a full blown narcissist where they diagnose us and whatnot. But if we're able to catch it in this state, like you caught it with your son, we're able to come down and we're able to see ourselves, build that self awareness, and just those little bit of degrees from somebody who actually shows us genuine love and genuine acceptance of who we are can change the whole course of our lives. So, do you think that you kind of saw that shift or like a shift where he was kind of headed in that direction of being traumatized and you know, acting out and now you see something different? Or what do you see different now?
So the biggest thing about them, so I'm kind of a hothead, especially when it comes to my kids, because of what I went through as a child. I'm overly protective of my children. Um, so it was like things was happening in school, the acting out, and it was like they felt like they couldn't tell me anything because mama's gonna blow up. So I don't want to say anything. So it was like I didn't want them to be in that state. And I felt like if I want a real relationship with my kids, I need them to be able to talk to me no matter how bad it seems, no matter how hurtful it seems. I want them to be able to know that I'm in their corner. So me stepping back and being like, when they said, well, you don't spend enough time with us, that blew me. Because the first thing we as parents look at is the materialistic stuff. Well, you need lights and water, you need shoes and clothes, you need food on the table. But then it's like, well, what does time mean? Time means a whole lot, because if I'm missing out on all these years, by the time they get adults and get their own family, when are we gonna have that time? What better way than now? So I had to really take a step back, and the attitudes and different things change. Of course, I still have snooty kids sometimes, because that's just kids. But the relationship we have, like, I love it, because my sister told me, talking about my child to come over to her house and sit and talk about me the whole time. My mama does this, and my mama is this, and my mama does that. And she was like, well, give somebody else a chance to talk about their mom. But it's just the fact of that bond we now have versus before, when all I did was work. And I love that. My oldest is 14, like I said, and she came to me to tell me that she's bisexual. Okay, great. How are we going to move on? She was like, you're not mad? Mad for what, ma'am? The fact that you even saw enough in me to tell me that versus telling everyone else, I can appreciate it. So how are we going to do with this? Who do you like? Who's the little girl on your radar? Who's the little boy on your radar? Those are the type of things that we talk about, and I love that.
So how do you get to that place?
Um, like I said, nurturing myself as a child. I sometimes have to sit down and use coloring books and color, talk to myself, watch Disney movies that I would watch growing up, just to kind of give my inner child that time, that space. And then me and them would sit and play games that I used to play as a child. I taught them how to double dutch. I taught them how to play pitty pat and goldfish, things like that. All of those things help me to forgive and to help them raise them in a proper manner.
Do you think, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you had to play, you had to give your inner child time to play, and you basically play with them.
Yep.
And that's funny because me and my mom had an argument a few years ago, and um I'm very just introspective, so I'm just introspective. I say that word all the time wrong,
Yes.
but I write. So after the argument, I wrote, and I wrote that her 13-year-old was arguing with my 13-year-old, my inner 13-year-old. Her inner 13-year-old was arguing.
Yes.
We would always clash because her
Yes.
inner 13-year-old, like,
Yes.
I need attention. I need somebody to make me feel safe. And my 13-year-old, like, you the mother. Hello? Like, I
Right.
need attention.
Right. Right.
So just that acknowledgement, one, I commend you on that because, like, um, we were talking recently, me and my mother, and she was just saying how she's starting to see healing happening quicker in the new generations, you know.
Yes.
So just seeing that, talking to you, it's like, yes, you got it. Okay. Like your kids are still under your care. Some people don't get it to their kids long and gone, and the resentment is thick.
Exactly. And that's kind of where me and my mom was. And I didn't want to send my kids out into the world to be abusive to other adults because
Yes.
they don't know how to handle themselves. So I
Yes.
feel like if I stop it now and deal with myself and then help them, then I can nurture them to go out and be whatever they do once they leave my care, it's kind of on them. But at the same time, I know that I did my due diligence with healing me, so that I could be the best mother to them. So that's the difference, I think. Like, I think by the time me and my mom caught our relationship, I was 28. My mom was 28 when my dad died. I was 28 when my husband died.
Mm,
So I needed her to help me get through that time,
hmm
because I was like, I don't know how you did it. I only had two kids. She had five, six,
mm,
six. So, um, yeah, that was different.
mm. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that takes. I just it just pulls on my heart because I know for me, I haven't lost anyone. I not significantly close to me, but I lost my daughter, and I lost her to preeclampsia. I was pregnant, and I pushed her out. So that's the only like um real loss that I've had,
Mm-hmm.
but just the process of grieving that and grieving what could have been and what would be now, and as the years go by, she would be 2 this year, and just like all the things, right? So I can totally just sympathize with that that loss, but losing somebody that has been here, like that I've talked to and encountered, like I've been blessed enough to not to deal with that, but I don't know even how to even start to say, okay, this is what you do. So
Right.
what did you do in those, for that time to grieve?
Whew, let's see. And I want to say sorry for your loss of losing your daughter because I've been there. I've lost a son and had to push him out the same instance. Um,
Thank you.
it's not an easy feat. It's easy in the sense of because they were young, but then it's not easy as a parent. So I get it. I totally understand that. Losing my dad was like losing the biggest part of me. Um, my dad was my everything. Like, we had a closer relationship than me and my mom did. I don't know if it's because I was his oldest, he nurtured me, he spoiled me. I don't know what it was, but my dad was my everything. So losing him was like losing a part of me. Um, and then losing my husband, that was my best friend. And seeing my kids where I was, but they were younger. They were 6 and 3 when their dad died.
Mm.
Um, Watching my kids have to go through what I went through, that's not something I would ever wish on anyone. So I had a nervous breakdown right after my husband passed away and was on the verge. I felt like I was going to lose my kids, or I actually thought about even committing suicide and taking my kids with me. It was terrible.
Mm.
Um, I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of prayer. I had to go back to what we were taught, the Bible and prayer, to get here. And I had a lot of friends praying for me. I had, of course, my family was praying for me. I felt like they didn't understand a whole lot. I know my mom did in a sense, but it just was a lot to get here. A whole lot.
So when you say, first of all, I'm glad you made it, okay?
Yes.
Because I've been there too. I've definitely tried to commit suicide. I've definitely been there. So I know it's not easy. And I was just writing about this actually, because I was no, was I writing? I don't know. I was talking. I was doing something on this topic because what's her name? Oh my goodness, I keep forgetting her name. That's crazy. Regina King.
Yes.
Her son committed
Yes.
suicide, and
Yes.
it's just like, oh my goodness. But I think deeply into things, and so this is just my hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tried to commit suicide, my mother was at work, and I wanted her to come home and find my body so that she could feel that she wasn't there for me. And so, thank God that didn't happen. But
Right.
she I would be in my room, and I wouldn't see her all day, even when she came home. It was
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't matter, so that felt like I didn't matter. So when I committed suicide, or when I tried to, I it was because I didn't feel seen or heard. And so in a room full of people going to counseling, all the things, I still, me, did not feel seen or heard. And so when I think about people who are doing that, on the verge of doing that, thinking about doing it, who've done it, I'm like, they didn't feel seen or heard. And
Definitely.
so Regina King, she's an amazing woman. It takes time to do that. It
Yes.
takes time. That takes time away from this little boy.
Right.
And so while he may support you as his mother, inside, does he feel seen and heard?
Right.
And that is like, oh, like I don't know what to do to get people to slow down and just give a little love to someone else, to their neighbor, because that one person can change. Um,
Everything.
yes.
Everything. I can relate because I just told my best friend this the other day when we were talking about like everything we've been through collectively. Believe it or not, me and my best friend was when my husband passed away, we were just getting to know each other. We probably had known each other maybe a year. But you would think that we had known each other all our lives the way how she just jumped right in and was there. I had other friends that was there, of course, too, but um the thing was I was calling for help. I was asking people, I was asking my siblings, my mother. I mean, everybody had their own lives, of course. I was asking everyone to get my kids because I didn't feel safe being around my kids because I was literally losing it. And everybody was saying, "It's okay. You're gonna be fine. You just gotta pray." And I'm like, I'm doing all of that. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Like I'm already doing that. Like I just want y'all to get them and give me some time to think about myself for just 2 seconds because I felt like I wasn't able to grieve. I was still working, still a mom. I was still helping out with family. I was still doing the same thing I was doing before my husband passed. Like he never did pass away, if that makes sense. And I didn't get a chance to grieve. I didn't get a chance to actually sit down and process it. So the more I tried to keep doing the regular things, it was becoming harder and harder. I was literally having 7 to 8 panic attacks a day. I was seeing a counselor. I was praying, reading, crying out to God every day. So the last straw was I was just like I leaving out the grocery store, taking my kids home, getting ready to get them settled in, had a panic attack while I was driving.
Mm. Uh-oh. This is getting good. We lost her. Okay. Yeah, no one do no editing, right? I just want to let y'all know that we don't do no editing. She gonna come back though, so we're gonna talk. Because listen, this is very important. And when I talk to people about parenting and about trauma, trauma is raising trauma, right? So if we don't heal as parents, if we don't heal as people within ourselves, when we bring our little people into the world, we're going to be raising them through trauma, and we don't want to do that, right? We want to give them the best. They deserve the best. They're coming in to a clean slate. They shouldn't have to deal with trauma, the trauma that we are carrying, which I can give you like a picture. When I talked to my mother went through just immeasurable amounts of trauma, right? And so my childhood was rough because she hadn't dealt with her childhood, but she knew that therapy was important. So though she couldn't process with me at 7, she put me into therapy, and that was the one of the best things she's done until she got right with herself. So provider, she got that. She was providing. She was doing everything right. But as far as the nurturing, understanding why I feel the way I feel or why I'm acting out, she couldn't necessarily see my struggles as a child. And because kids are supposed to be seen, not heard, kids don't have nerves, it was a little difficult for her to really comprehend what I was going through as a big dark skinned 4-eyed kid in the black school. Like she it wasn't easy for her to understand that. All she knew is that I was making her life harder because she had to be at work, right? She got to pay the bills, right? Ain't nobody helping her. So that was difficult. And so that's why I say the trauma it's the healing is so important because she didn't heal from her stuff. So now I'm supposed to kind of be meek and not do too much, or I have social skills because she was abused, social issues because she was abused from people. So she wanted to keep me safe, which meant that she kept me in, right? She kept me away from people. So I don't really like, it's not that I don't mess with my family, I just don't know them. Like, I don't know them. And then to meet them as an adult who has social issues, like, y'all gonna have to come around a lot and tone it down. Like, when I come around y'all hype. I don't do that. I don't do that. And it's not that I feel better. I don't feel better than a person. I just simply feel like um, I have social issues. Okay, Q's back.
Sorry, my
All
phone just
right.
blacked. My phone just blacked out for no reason.
Oh,
Um,
girl, it's okay. Yeah, we kept on rolling. I was like, "Dang, she be back."
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But as I was saying, like I collapsed in the doorway, getting the groceries out the car, and I was like, "That's my final straw. That's it." I'm like, since no
Oh
one wants
goodness.
to get my kids, I'ma just take us together. Thank God that didn't happen. Um, it was so many factors that led that not to happening. One be my sister kept calling my phone looking for my mother for whatever reason. And if she didn't keep constantly calling, I probably would have went through with it.
What were you gonna do? That is okay. It's just I know that is I know that a lot of people deal with that, and we have these thoughts, and even um, big facts. Kevin Gates was talking about. He was at the gym. He was working out one last time, and he was about to leave the gym and go off himself.
Yeah,
Kevin Gates said this, and he's
yeah,
like, this white guy came up to him, and he's like, "Man, your music just changed my life. If you ever offed yourself, I don't know where I would be." And he said this to him randomly as he was about to go off himself, and then he was like, "Man, that's crazy, because I'm about to go kill myself." And he's like, the white guy was like, "Man," he got sad. He just hugged him.
yeah,
And so it takes 6 seconds, 6 seconds for you to embrace somebody, for
yes,
their body to release.
yes,
It takes 6 seconds. So sometimes we just need a hug.
yes.
And I used to, it's crazy that I just said that, because it gave me chills when I just said that. Ooh, because one of the things that I would strive, I would, I would, I would be so sad about is that I never had anybody to touch me. Like, I'm awkward. I don't know. People don't touch me. I never had a hug. My mother doesn't hug because of her trauma. She don't really mess with people. But I'm her child, so of course she loves me. But
Right,
she's not
right.
a hugger.
Yeah. So I've dealt with that. I became awkward, of course, after the molestation. I don't like hugging adults.
Yes.
It's something I still deal with today. But I am very affectionate with my kids because I noticed that I was standoffish with them as well. I tell my kids I love them all day long, um, but I never used to hug them. And
Mm.
my husband was very affectionate and he hugged the kids all the time. And he would hug me all the time. I hated it. But I went through with it because I know that was his love language. So I do that with my kids. I make sure I hug my kids. My daughter will come in and say, "Mommy, I need a 15-second hug." That's how we communicate. I was like, "Okay, cool." My youngest one, I noticed that she's not really into being hugger, but she'll just come lay her head on me. So those are her love languages. So that's how we do with that. But I definitely wasn't a hugger either. So I can relate. My mom wasn't a hugger. My mom just really now. My mom don't hug us now. She'll tell us she love us, but she wasn't a hugger either. So
Yes. And okay, so I just the patterns with that. I wonder
yeah,
if people notice those patterns, because a lot of times I hear people say, "I'm just me. I'm just me."
you're definitely not just you. You are definitely a replica of someone in your family. It always comes back around. It never fails. I remember growing up in church, and in the black church we have our prophetess, and I'll never forget this lady came. Her name was Prophetess Hughes. She came to our church, and my church is our family church. My grandma, my granddad, my cousins, siblings, all this was there. Um, and she kind of was speaking over our lives, and my cousin, we look nothing alike, but when she hugged me and she went to hug her, she said, "You two are related." And I'm looking like, "How did you figure that out?" She said, "Because the same way how you're standoffish with hugging me, she has the same disposition as you." And I'm like, "Does she?" But looking back at it, she really, really does. And that's when I knew then that it does rub off. It trickles down the line. It doesn't have to be your mother. It could be your grandmother, your uncle. It could be someone, but you're never just you. You're always a replica of someone.
But you know what? What else trickles is the trauma.
It
The
does.
trauma. I noticed that somebody who had a similar trauma to me, like for example, just the sexual abuse. If somebody has sexual abuse trauma, they will be more standoffish, and they don't want, those touchy, don't touch me. And then if you were raised by somebody who has had sexual abuse, they are going to teach you those same tactics.
They do.
So the child develops their personality within the first 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's those crucial.
Mm-hmm.
So if for me, my mother may have been depressed in some of those years, or going through a hard um, part of her relationship or something. And so I saw that. I saw the aggression, her and my father fighting. I saw her fight back. So in my head, you both fight back. I don't care, man, woman, goose, it don't matter. Fight
Right.
back. Like, so um that trickled down to me. And then the like being inward, being in the dark, kind of that depressive state of just mellow, that
Mm-hmm.
trickled down to me. And so I don't have no reason to be upset. I should be happy. But
Right.
my baseline sometimes can be very mellow and almost looking depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to manually see that and then like turn up, y'all. Like, hey, what
Right.
y'all doing?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I have to manually take myself out of that. But my baseline is to be like, I'm chilling.
Right.
I'm
I'm okay.
okay.
Fine. I'm okay.
Right. So I think it's trauma that is really the big factor in that trickling down, is that if we don't heal from our trauma, we and notice and heal from our trauma, we bring all of the coping skills, coping mechanisms that we did to fight off that trauma, we bring all of that into our child's life.
Yeah, we definitely do. And I noticed it. I noticed it. It took a lot of self-evaluation
Mm.
um to get there. I tell people all the time. I talk to myself, and
Yes, one time for the
there is nothing wrong with me. I talk to myself. I talk to myself because sometimes we have to have a meeting to make sure we're on the same page. And it's like,
yes.
okay, you're doing something that is out of your norm, or you're doing something that is questionable. So let's talk about it. So I have those personal meetings with myself probably once or twice a day. And it's because if you don't do self reflections and evaluations, you will not notice that you're still hurting from things that happened 15, 16 years ago, because you figure I have survived all this time, so it can't be bothering me. And it
Mm.
definitely is. It's all in how you respond to people and respond to things. And people don't know why they get triggered by certain words or certain actions, and they feel like, oh, it's just normal. It's not. It's not normal for people to reach out and touch you and you jump. That's triggering for you. So what happened to you that makes you do that? Let's talk about it. And they don't. They don't want to talk to people. And especially in our community, they always say, oh, I don't need a counselor. I don't need nobody. And it's like, you need to talk to someone. You're like borderline going over the edge. Someone needs to see you.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a must that you self reflect. It's a must, because especially when you're raising kids, because it's easy to pass those things down. It's easy.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we got it. We got it. Okay, because I don't want to keep you, but honey, okay, you said two things. We got to tap to that, and then I got three questions for you.
Sure.
Okay, so one, oh my goodness. No, because growing up in the '90s, talking to yourself was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, like you that I get teased for enough stuff. I can't tell nobody I talk to myself. I've been doing this since
Right.
I was a kid. Okay. So to have this platform and to talk to people and everybody I bring on here be like, yeah, I talk to myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Just where you
Yes.
been at? Where have
Yeah.
you been?
Listen, it's pertinent we have those conversations, child, because I tell people I have three different personalities: Q, Quateria,
Woo!
Terrell. Listen, we got to have a daily meeting because I need to bring y'all in. I need y'all input on
Oh
these
my
things. We gotta have
goodness.
those talks. I love it. I love talking to myself. I answer back too.
Yes, yes. It's like it ain't fun if you don't answer back. Like, what you
Right,
talking about?
right. It makes
That's
zero
the
sense.
conversation.
So yeah, I do those things. I do. It's normal. You should do it all the time.
Okay, so I'm just excited because one thing you just said, you have three personalities. The way I see it, I have little Victoria, foundational Victoria, conditioned Victoria. That's the Victoria with all the trauma from everybody. A whole lot of stuff that happened in my family. Nobody want to talk about nothing, and it's
Right.
sitting on my shoulders.
Mhm.
Little Victoria, she act out. She got an attitude. I can't control her when she get mad. She gonna hurt stuff. Just call the police.
Right.
Okay. Current Victoria, that's who shows up in the world. That's who you see. And then I have higher self Victoria. and that's like the God in me.
Yes.
She got ideas. I'm like, who finna do that?
Right.
Who? And it's like that's who I have to be obedient to. When I'm
Yes.
obedient, stuff works out. When I do that, she's real loud, low Victoria. She say something real loud. Higher self is quiet. She's gonna say it once. Either you're gonna do it or you're not. But say
Right.
it.
Right.
it's, and so that's the God in me. So when you're saying that, I'm like, okay, people are getting this. People
Yes.
are being the observer. Like current Victoria is the observer, and so she does. Whoever gets in the driver's seat, they fight over it sometimes.
Yeah.
But whoever gets in the driver's seat, that's how current Victoria reacts.
Yes. It definitely does. It makes a whole lot of sense. And that's why I always say growing up, I had three different nicknames. I had Mummy, which was little Quateria. Then I had Terry, which was teenage, trauma filled, smart mouth, Quateria. And then I have Q, which is the business savvy, the mom, the go getter, the good, that's the person who have, it's the God in me. Q is the God in me. Because now I'm able to sit back and see both sides of situations that I would normally react to. I'm able to think clearer. I'm able to obsess. What is the word I'm looking for? Not obsess. Assess. There we go. Assess situations for what they are, not for what they could be. Because we do a lot of that too. We do a lot of what could be. I need to see now in the present because I can't worry about the future.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what causes anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you said triggers. Do
hmm
you know your triggers, or how did you learn your triggers?
So my triggers are adults hugging me, touching me randomly. I don't like it. Um, some people are huggers. Some people will walk up to you and just hug you randomly. Hey girl, how you doing? Please don't do that. That's invading my personal space. Because I had an issue with boundaries growing up, I have a lot of boundaries. Those are one. Don't just randomly hug me. I would rather you say, hey, is it okay if I hug you? So just random hugs, those are triggers for me. Um, Forcefulness with certain situations. If I say no, just let it be no. Don't keep trying to force whatever idea you say is good because now you're triggering me again because I've said no in situations that have put me in harm's way. So
Yes.
so don't force me to do anything. And other triggers are yelling, screaming, or acting in a form of manner that you would are trying to either hit me like I noticed that growing up because I was in an abusive relationship. So like, if me and my significant other gets into an argument, don't stand above me. I hate that. That's a trigger for me. Because now I feel like you're gonna do something to me, even if you have no intent have ever shown me that. But that's how I feel. I had
Yes.
to learn those things over the years because sometimes you will cower away from things and you try to not think about why you cower away from those things. But now I know why. So I just tell people up front, please don't refrain from touching me, please. You don't gotta know why, just don't do it. So those are the things I
Right.
tell people look for their triggers all the time because you would notice it, but you just don't want to acknowledge it.
Yes. Okay. So how did you acknowledge? Just give me one. How did you discover that that's a trigger for you?
I got into so me and my husband I got into an argument with my husband one day, and we had a conversation. Like we were discussing bills and finances, and in a black household, bills and finances is the number one topic in every household, but especially in the black household. So it's like, okay, we done discussed it. Now we're out in the living room with my siblings. Everybody's just sitting there randomly having just doing something, and he still want to discuss it. And I'm looking at him like, have we not already had this discussion? And he stood up above me and asked me what was wrong with me. That was a definite no. Like I literally packed my husband up that night by the time he got off work and was like, if you do that again, you're out of here. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you? Is that okay? So in that moment, he didn't know that that was your trigger.
He did not. He
Okay.
learned.
Yes, you packed him up, girl. Okay, so you packed him up. But for me, I want people to understand their triggers, but then give the other person a chance to, also know them. Like I'm not gonna, for example, my ex, he was abusive. He said some things when he was very emotional abusive. Not very, but like in the beginning, he was definitely abusive.
Right.
And it was more so because of his environment. He was raised by essentially pimps. So he thought this was what you're supposed to do. And I'm
Right.
from DC, you will not.
Right.
Okay. So he started off being just, it was weird. He started off actually being nice. Then he was abusive. And then he went back to like, okay, this is not for her.
Right.
So um one of the things, we had got in an argument one time, and I was like, some bitch ass nigga. Like, and he was like, that's a trigger for him. Like, that don't say that to him. And I'm like, okay. So I never said it again, regardless of any relationship we went through or anything that happened in our relationship. I
Right.
never said it again because he
Right.
set that boundary. But he didn't blow up on me. He just told me, like, this is something I don't like. Don't call me that.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas I feel like sometimes we just blow up on people and then we like, it's because you called me like, and it's like, why you ain't never say that was bad.
Right. 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 I feel that in order to get people to respect your boundaries and to respect what a trigger is for you, you do have to communicate it. Because everyone does not know. For me, like when people first meet me, like I said, of course they want to greet you, they want to hug you. I make that in my introduction, honestly speaking. And it's weird, but it's not weird. So I'd be like, and they'd be like, oh, okay, well, nice to meet you. I'm so and so. And I'd be like, okay, I'm so and so. And I'd be like, can we just do a handshake? Because I'm not really a hugger. I make that into my introduction. I don't go
Yes.
into don't hug me because I'm crazy. I just be like, I'm not really a hugger. Can we just do a handshake? And they'd be like, okay, that's fine. It used to be weird for me to do that. I'd be like, people are going to think something's wrong with me. But it's going over fine because I feel like if you make it known right away and you can say it in a manner that's cool enough to people be like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fine. How do you
Yes.
do that with friends though? I don't know because my friends don't respect my boundaries. They be like, girl, please, you need a hug. So, but I'm used to it by now. But other than that, I'm like, don't hug me, please. But yeah, it's I used to blow up on people for no reason.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like a lot of us do that, but we don't realize we're doing it because it's a trigger. We got triggered, didn't
Right,
know that we got triggered,
right,
and in our head, you supposed to know. Like,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We teleported that information over. So
you ain't get it? Just I
right
got
there you go. Yeah, a lot of people don't. It's hard, I guess, trying to realize what it is because you just feel like I just don't like it, so don't do that. I don't like it, so don't do that because that's how you put it in your mind. You don't say it's a trigger. You say I don't like that. You never
Yes.
realize it's a trigger. You just say, "Oh, I don't like that. I don't like when you touch me. I don't like when you say this to me."
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that. Let me write that down. Okay. So because trigger just came out, like
Yep.
really, the word, I feel like Janae Aiko made it cool with the song.
There you go. Yeah, definitely. It's a trend now. Triggered and toxic and
Yes.
trauma. All of those words are just really becoming big in the community because of social media.
But I think it's necessary because we need something to explain what we're feeling. And those words
Yes.
help us. Because if
Mhm.
we say, I don't like that, you kind of wave that off. But I say, that's triggering. Then
Yes.
you know that
Now
the
you
Tasmanian devil
understand.
could come out any minute. So calm
Right.
down.
Yes. And I'm glad that like I said, because that's what we mostly would say. I don't like that. Don't do that. I don't like that. And it's
And then
like,
you try to push
okay,
it. Oh, girl, you all right. Or, bitch, you
exactly.
don't
Now
like it.
it's
If I
like,
say, all
well,
right,
you
you're
don't
triggering
like
me.
it. You don't like it. What that had to do with me? Now you say, hey, that's triggering me. Now it's like, oh, got it.
Yes. So I like that the words are coming up. And then trauma. As Black Americans, we deal with trauma from our roots, from how we got here, and then the oppression. Like, I don't feel like we're oppressed now. Like, there's still oppression in the air, but there's so much resources that I feel like we can get ourselves out of it. We just have to work a little harder and together.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But I feel like the trauma has, like, even though we're where we are today in real time, this is where we are. There's trauma from the past that is
Mhm.
on us heavy, and
Heavy.
so we literally have to heal from that. And the only word that explains what it is trauma. Like, that's what it is. It's trauma. And so you see it show up. I call it the residue of trauma.
Yeah.
Um, where I wrote a book about how you recognize your residue from the trauma. Because right today, um, I could see like I have an issue with men living with women and not paying bills.
Yeah.
I have an issue with that. That's traumatic or something to me. But when I see that, I call it out. I'm like, you're using.
Right.
You,
See?
right? I'm like, you exploiting this woman. Like, and so my ex was like, oh, you gonna always think I'm like your dad. And I'm like, regardless of not, like, this is what you're doing. So it's taking me back to that moment. And that's a traumatic experience for me. But um, like I also take heed to intention.
Yeah.
So I took you out of your water and brought you here to my land. I know you're not finna have no money. You're gonna have to lean on me.
Right.
But you got like there's a time limit or something. Like you can't lean on me forever. Just
Exactly.
so it's like I have that um I can see both sides. I have that awareness, but that's still a trigger for me. It's still connected to a trauma, which means in my once that time limit was up and it was like, all right, what you doing? It was like the trauma was coming up that I was feeling used. I kept feeling used. Like, okay, I'm trying to be civilized here, but what you doing? And so I'm acting like somebody who feels used. I'm
Yeah.
being this man. Where yours at?
Right.
Just, you know.
If you would do this, you can have yours.
Exactly. So I started to change because of that trauma. It showed up, and that was just the residue. I didn't know that that bothered me that much, but it
Right.
was just that residue showing because I felt like, oh, he finna use me too. No sir, like, and I don't even necessarily think that that was his intention. It was literally that I took him out of his water. Like,
Exactly. I don't. It probably wasn't. I've been there. I know that. So in uh relationships I've been in, I've dealt with cheating and fidelity a whole lot. And so I started dealing with this guy. We wasn't really exclusive. We were friends with benefits, but we did relationship stuff with no titles. That makes sense? Yeah, it doesn't. So when this guy, I'm giving you my loyalty. So when he decides that he wants to go and be with other females, I would get mad. And I'm like, I had to start asking myself, why are you so upset about someone you're not even exclusive with? You just do relationship stuff with them, but you have not set the standards for what it is that you want because I wasn't sure what I wanted. Um, and let's just say that I realized how much infidelity triggers me because
mm,
I was afraid to be in a committed relationship. So I was okay with not having any titles and doing relationship stuff, but not realizing that what comes with that is allowing him to be with other people because technically he's single and so am I. But I'm the only
mm.
one wanting to be selfish with him because I have allowed him to say, okay, well, if you don't want to be committed and I don't want to be committed, then what's the problem?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay? So I remember you saying abandonment issues. Do you feel like that is connected to your abandonment issues
It
and
is.
that because you have issues with infidelity, you didn't want to set yourself up to get cheated on again, but you have abandonment issues, so you want somebody here,
But not
but
fully.
internally it was like, okay, it caused that conflict.
Yeah. I battled with myself with that because I loved him so dearly. Like I loved him with all of me, but I just could not commit to him. I didn't want to put a title on what we had. So it's like he's like, you don't know what you want to do. So now I'm out here doing whatever I want to do and you're upset. And he's like, I'm trying to make him feel bad. But I was forcing my abandonment issues on him because I felt like, well, you deal with abandonment issues, so you should understand what I'm feeling. And he's like, but mine's are with my parents, not other people. Like I know where my problems come from. Where does yours come from? So yeah, it we can sometimes project our own triggers and infidelities and insecurities rather on other people, and then expect them to Just be like, okay,
Fix it.
I get
Yeah. Like I'm gonna cater to it because it's your insecurity. Like, no, that you have to heal, my
you
guy,
have
my
to
girl.
deal with that.
Like,
Yeah. So that taught me a bitter lesson, but a much needed lesson, because it's like either you want a committed relationship or you don't. Either you want someone to be here fully or you don't.
yes. You know how
So
common that is? How many people they say, they've been in a situationship and they don't know what's happening next, or they don't know what this is, or they can't get the person to commit. Um, and then it causes this like something internally because I internally feel worthy, right? But you're not treating me as my worth, but something is blocking me from receiving sometimes that treatment of my worth because I feel like, oh, well, I've only been treated like this here.
right,
So I'm going to do this type of stuff. And if
right.
somebody comes here, then either I don't like them, it feels uncomfortable. Like, why you
Yes.
calling me? You want to check up on me? What you think I'm doing? I ain't cheating. Like, if
Right.
sometimes it'll make us feel uncomfortable because we haven't healed, and it's so common.
Yes.
Um,
That was me. I was very uncomfortable because he was the type that would spoil me, do whatever is necessary um for my kids. Like, he accepted my kids as, I mean, he had kids too, but he was really a nurturer to my kids and everything else. I didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, what? This don't just happen. So it was my own conflict, but me and him are good friends now. Um, it just was a lesson that I needed to learn, and I did.
that is awesome. I commend you. I feel like I just went through that too, where I felt, I just thought, just as I've over the years, I've built up my personal image or my self worth internally.
Mhm.
Because at first I didn't even like looking in the mirror. Like, I didn't want to see no mirrors. Like, I'm here though. But then there's a mirror sitting right here so I can see my reflection moving. But I put mirrors all around me. Like, I had to like fall in love with myself. So from
Mhm.
2017 till now, I have been in this place where, I had to fall in love with myself. Then I got in my first relationship at 28. I was a virgin out here. And then I moved to Atlanta, and I don't know why I picked the Atlanta dude, but girl, that's what happened. So I was introduced to just like this is my first relationship. I haven't dealt with dudes. Um, previously I used to date girls, so I wasn't, and it was more so dating girls for the connection and the nurturing that they provided. I never received that from a man, so this was the first man that I met that made me feel safe, and he nurtured me, my spirit. So I'm like, I'm yours. What you need? Just
Right. Right.
but I didn't know. I thought that I was good, that I had healed, and I'm good, and I'm picking him. But no, my trauma picked him. So
Yeah.
we trauma bonded, boy.
Yeah. Yes. Trauma bonds are something.
I'm talking about what?
Lord.
We trauma bonded, serious. Now, granted, there was still love there. I still loved him, but the reason why I dealt with all that stupid stuff was because of the trauma bond. And I made up excuses for everything.
Tell
Oh
me
no, he's
about it.
just just he know. Oh, he didn't mean that. He just he usually like, right.
I have been there. I have done that.
But then when I got out of that relationship, it was crazy. We don't have time, but it was crazy. I got out of that relationship and I realized how much I did not respect myself, how much I still didn't feel worthy. Like,
Yes.
I'm worthy of somebody who truly loves me, but
Yes.
yet I'm being desperate over somebody who you are. I
Right.
mean, you know, and because I was trauma bonded, I felt like I need this. like who else is gonna love me this way? Like, my mama don't care for real, or nobody care for real, but he's always here. And then he a street dude. He got nothing but time for me.
Right.
Nothing but
Exactly.
time. Okay, so you say you've been in a relationship like that. How did it? What happened afterwards? Like, how was the aftermath?
So the aftermath. How was the aftermath? Um, I trauma bonded with someone, and the aftermath of it was us both not feeling like we weren't worthy of a good relationship. So we decided
Mm,
to end up going our separate ways. I took like 2 years off of the dating scene. I was celibate. I was trying to get to know me, trying to get back to my happy place, like trying to figure out what did I really like. Like, what do I
mm,
really want in a relationship? Don't get me wrong. My husband was very much my best friend. He was the best father ever. He should not have been my husband. Let's just put that there. He was not ready to be in a committed relationship, and he made me hate marriage. He really did. We were the best of friends, but as a husband, he could not be. He didn't want monogamy,
mm.
and so because of that, I ended up being afraid to be committed. Got with this person because we were trauma bonding. He had hard issues with relationship issues with females. I've had it with men, so it's like okay, now we're bonding over the fact that we have never been in a good relationship. We have abandonment issues. Now we're trying to make something out of this big ball of foolishness. And after the fact, we ended up hurting each other more by staying in that relationship versus trying to fix ourselves and actually see what was wrong with the relationship from start. After that, we both went our separate ways. I took 2 years off. I was celibate. I was out there just trying to figure out what made me happy, what made me me, what is my abandonment issues, who do I have it with, how do I work on forgiving them, and how
Mm.
do I get from a place of not feeling worthy to feeling worthy. That took some years to do. And then the guy I met, like I said, who the one I was not wanting to commit to, I met him on that 2 year journey. And like I said, we were good friends. We're still good friends. But I just couldn't be what he needed, and he definitely couldn't be what I needed. And we acknowledged that, and we just decided to remain friends. Now that I'm in a relationship for real this time, I feel like I'm so much better in the relationship. Like I allow my partner to love on me. I allow him to learn my love languages and me to learn his. I allow myself to be committed again. And I'm not afraid of it anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. I love that so much. And you said something. What did you just say? Oh my goodness. You said you allow your partner to love on you. And then
And to learn
before
my
that,
language.
yes. Okay. Oh, knowing your love language and what you need. That's what you were saying.
Yes.
Your other partner, the other person didn't have what you need.
No.
Uh, you had to do work around finding out what you need.
Yeah. I know I needed someone that can offer a whole lot. I know that me myself, I'm someone who has to be reassured a lot. Um And the reason being is because of my abandonment issues. And I realized that the reassurance allows me to be secure. That's a security issue for me. So if you don't reassure me that you want to be here, I feel insecure. Even though you might be showing me everything of wanting to be here, I still need that reassurance. So
Same.
I know that now. So I allow him to do that, and I allow him to love me the way that I need to be loved. Not how I want to be loved. Like I love roughnecks. I love dope boys. I've always loved dope boys. I don't know why that is, but I have. Now I have someone who is like he's a veteran. He's a business owner. He's someone who meets me and my needs with no problem. Like I am.
Yes.
It takes some getting used to because I've never been loved in this manner before, not even by my husband. So
Yes. See, when you heal and you level up your life, the
yeah,
universe brings you everything, a new level of everything.
yes, and I when I assure you, like sometimes I be questioning him, like, "Are you okay? You sure?" He be like, "What is wrong with you?" I just be like, I sometimes I just want to ask, why me? But then that's still that little girl who needs to be reassured on the side. But I know now that it's just because who I am. It's like, why not me? That's what I ask now. Why not me, girl? I'm dope.
Yes, yes, girl, yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I love this conversation. I have three questions for you before I let you go. This is so good. I know this is going to touch so many people.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to get you on the panel at the end of the month because
Yes, ma'am.
honey, this is amazing. Okay, so one thing. Okay, so I lost my questions, but everything I do is just in my head. So,
Yes.
so what does healing mean to you?
Healing means overcoming obstacles that have hindered growth in your life. That's what it means for me.
Yes, okay, you ready with it? Okay.
Yes.
What does healing your finances mean to you?
Healing my finances means to me becoming one with them, knowing that the universe brings and takes away. So, in order for finances to flow easy, I have to have a healthy relationship with them. And if I'm always in struggle mode, then I'm always going to lack.
Mm, the scarcity. Yes, we
Yes.
got to get into our abundance. Okay.
Yes.
I told my grandmother the other day. I was like, I'm not worried about the money. The money gonna come. And she was like,
Yes,
well, tell
ma'am.
some to come to me too.
Yes. So, yeah.
So okay, and then the last one. What does healing spirit mean to you?
To have a healing spirit or to encounter a healing spirit means to me is that someone who has been through enough and their spirit can speak to mine in order to nurture it in the manner that it needs to understand who they are.
Okay, okay. So no, what does healing with spirit mean to you?
Oh, healing with spirit. Oh, that just means that we are on a level to where I'm no longer hurt by things that have happened to me, and that I know that I'm protected by spirit at all times.
Yes, we can't say no better than that. Oh my goodness, Q. I am so glad you joined me today. You are amazing. I
Thank
am
you.
so
So are
glad to hear
you.
about your story. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear about your story to see like I'm so glad that you've normalized this and we can talk about, these topics. I can't wait to hear your next episode come out.
Me
So make sure you
either.
guys subscribe to Qnomics. I am the podcast. I'm definitely a supporter. I'm going to put the links
Appreciate it.
in the comments or in the bio. Make sure you follow Q on all social media platforms.
Please
Tell them
do.
where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Q underscore the DA underscore coach. Q the coach.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. Make sure you do some healing today. Peace and healing, guys.
Peace and
I'm
healing,
out.
guys. Thank you.